buy a piece of art because you invite that into your life, because you'll also get a little introduction to the artist, and then that'll seep into your life, and that'll change things like mad. But it's unbelievably worth it, because it opens your eyes to the domain of the transcendent. That's the right way of thinking about it. A real piece of art is a window into the transcendent, and you need that in your life because you're finite and limited and bounded, right, by your ignorance and your lack of knowing. And unless you can make a connection to the transcendent, then you don't have the strength to prevail.
Nobody tells people who are beginners, and I really wish somebody had told this to me, is that all of us who do creative work, like, we get into it, and we get into it because we have good taste. But it's like there's a gap, that for the first couple of years that you're making stuff, what you're making isn't so good, okay? It's not that great. It's trying to be good. It has ambition to be good, but it's not quite that good. But your taste, the thing that got you into the game, your taste is still killer. And your taste is good enough that you can tell that what you're making is kind of a disappointment to you. You know what I mean? A lot of people never get past that phase. A lot of people at that point, they quit. And the thing I would just say to you with all my heart is that most everybody I know who does interesting creative work, they went through a phase of years where they had really good taste. They could tell what they were making wasn't as good as they wanted it to be. They knew it felt short. It didn't have this special thing that we wanted it to have. And the thing I would say to you is everybody goes through that. And for you to go through it, if you're going through it right now, if you're just getting out of that phase, you got to know it's totally normal. And the most important possible thing you could do is do a lot of work. Do a huge volume of work. Put yourself on a deadline so that every week or every month you know you're going to finish one story. Because it's only by actually going through a volume of work that you're actually going to catch up and close that gap. And the work you're making will be as good as your ambitions. It takes a while. It's going to take you a while. It's normal to take a while, and you just have to fight your way through that. Okay?
Creating something will fail. It might help ease some worry on being creative right now. Make something for you, not for everyone else. We've all been terrified of failure, whether we care to admit it or not, and I know I've found it crippling. But I also know it's the best thing for me to try and still just fail miserably at something, at anything, and then still have the audacity to have another go. Is actually the only way to achieve something of real value. It's the only way through. Although failing can be bad, terrible, the worst, once it's happened to you and discover it's not the end of the road and it will never play out as you imagined, you'll find out it instead acts like a big reset button. It's given me a huge sense of freedom, and now failing on purpose is something I've written into my plan. I want to create things that I know will flop, and I want to counteract that obsession with gaining a zillion subscribers or followers, views or likes. I need to be able to sustain my output, and if I sit down and worry about how many people will see it or how they might react to it, I won't even put pen to paper. And for me, that's far more terrifying.
Human creativity matters. Well, most people don't spend a lot of time thinking about poetry, right? They have a life to live and they're not really that concerned until their father dies. They go to a funeral, you lose a child, somebody breaks your heart, they don't love you anymore. And all of a sudden you're desperate for making sense out of this life. And has anybody ever felt this bad before? How did they come out of this cloud? Or the inverse, something great. You meet somebody and your heart explodes. You love them so much you can't even see straight. You know, you're dizzy. Did anybody feel like this before? What is happening to me? And that's when art's not a luxury, it's actually sustenance. We need it.
Early traumatic experiences are good predictors of late creativity. Now, we should also say that early traumatic experiences are also great predictors of catastrophic adult lives. So, but you can imagine the thing that people don't understand about creativity, or one of them, is that there's no reason to be creative unless you have a problem to solve. And you know, if someone dies on you young and you're forced to fend your way in the world and to deal with that kind of trauma, you have to put yourself together in a creative manner, and it's no joke. And so early negative experiences allied with high intelligence and this kind of temperament that we were talking about is one of the things that fosters creative production.